barakatuhu, everybody, and welcome back to Iman after Ramadan. This is our post-Ramadan series where we are talking about our spirituality and how to uplift ourselves after Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, we've done four sessions already. This is our fifth one, and inshallah, it's a really interesting one that we have today. We're going to be looking at the lessons that we can learn from the role of Hazrat Yusuf, alayhi salam, and his role during the can relate to the pandemic. I'm not going to be speaking for too long, inshallah, because our speaker today is Dr. Zaid, mashallah, and he's part of the Markfield Institute of Higher Education. So we're really happy and we're looking forward to the fact that he is with us today. Inshallah, as always, there is going to be an opportunity for Q&A at the end. So please hold your questions until then, inshallah. And without further ado, let's introduce Dr. Zaid Pervez, inshallah. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, sisters.
Wa alaikum salam.
I can start now?
Yep, absolutely. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulihil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd, qala Allahu ta'ala fi kitabihil majid. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alif lam ra tilka ayatul kitabil mubin. Inna anzalna qur'anan arabiyyan la'allakum ta'qilun. Nahnu nakussu alayka ahsanal qasasi bima awhayna ilayka haz Qur'an wa in kunta min qablu lafi dalalin mubin. Sadaqallahul azim. Respected sisters, this is the title. I hope you can see my screen. I want to focus on Surah Yusuf and then see what lessons we can learn, especially in this situation we are facing today. A crisis which we call. So first of all, what I will do, I will try to give you an overview of the whole surah. I'm just trying to put this somewhere. Okay. I will give you an overview of the whole surah. Then we will look at a closer look at Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam's role in putting himself forward to manage the food crisis. And during that process, we see his leadership skills and his management arises, how to develop these skills over the years, and then draw some points for our guidance and the role we can play in our situation here today. So three things: overview of the story, a look at his role in the famine, and the key points we can learn from all that. Sorry, it's yeah. Okay, overview of the story. Hazrat Yusuf has a dream. The Quran says the sun and the moon and the 11 stars, and the 11 stars are his brothers, and the sun and the moon are the parents. They are to him. So Yaqub alayhi salam, his father, said to him, look, don't share this dream with your brothers. It will only make them more jealous of you and they may cause you problems. The brothers were already envious of him because of his abilities or quality. I don't want to use this word, but the father may favor him more, as the Bible says, but according to Islam, there's no such thing mentioned. Why they were, no idea. And there are a lot of sources which explain why, but I don't want to go there. The Quran is silent on them. And then the brothers, they plotted and they came up with all kinds of strategies. Someone said, let's kill him. Someone says, no, let's put him in the well. So they actually put him in the well. And then there was a group coming, a tribe, and the Bible mentioned they were the Ishmaelites. Some groups coming, they camped near the well, and what they thought they will sell him. So he was eventually sold, and these people went and sold him further in Egypt to a person. Either it was his name or it was his title, called Aziz, Al-Aziz. So Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam slowly began to win the trust of Aziz. He begins to take on more and more responsibility and manage the whole place. Now, the whole place, was it a house, was it a mansion? Was it, we have no idea. He managed and begins to take on more responsibilities, and the trust is there. And then we see the incident where the women are involved, and you know the whole story, how he remained firm, his piety was strong, he withstood the temptations, and as a result, he was eventually put in prison. And there in prison, he did not stop his work. He continued to preach to the inmates. Two of the inmates had a dream, and he was able to interpret their dream. But before interpret them, actually gave them a good sermon, explaining the basic beliefs and values of Islam. And then he interpreted the dreams. One of them said he is, I'm confusing between the Bible and the Quran, but top of my head, one of the dream was that he is squeezing grapes for the king, for the pharaoh. And the other one had three baskets on his head, and they had bread, and the crowds were eating from that. So he said to one of them, the one who was squeezing the grapes, that you will be freed out of prison, and you will become very close person to the pharaoh, like his servant, and you'll have this honor and dignity. And the other person, that you will be executed, you will be crucified in 3 days time, and the crowds eating from the bread means that they will be eating from your head. So he gave interpret that dream. Now he also told the one who was supposed to go to the king and become his servant, is to not forget me and mention me. But the person forgot. Many years might have passed, we have no idea. The Quran is silent on that. And then one day the king mentions his dream, which maybe was so intensive, kept on coming back again and again and again. He was puzzled, he was worried about that dream. So he called his people, advisors, and he shared that dream with them. And he aimed to interpret the dream. And they could not interpret him. And then this person remembered that prison there was a person called Yusuf. He has knowledge to interpret dreams. So he said to the king, if you allow me, I will go to him meaning of the dream. And the Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam interpret dream, but he also said to the person, go back to your king and say to him that I will come until I am free from the accusations which put me into the prison. So the investigated, was cleared, and then he became high official in Egypt. He was made in charge of looking at the famine. Again, what power he has, I will talk about later. Yeah, and then there's a whole story that the famine has spread everywhere in the neighboring lands, and from Canaan, which is a Palestine area, I think, where they had to come to get some wheat, and then slowly the brothers came, then eventually the father came, and Yusuf al-Islam disclosed his identity, and then slowly he met his father and he honored his parents and so on. Within this well is in the Quran, but there is a huge difference from the two stories. Quran Majid does not go to unnecessary details, but it focuses on the moral lessons and spirituality within the Yusuf al-Islam's conduct. Whereas the Bible, talks about jealousy and envy between the brothers, and all kinds of, very issues are discussed within the Bible. So this is the overview of the story. I went through it very quickly, so I'm sure you have all heard of this story. So I won't go into the details. Now, what are the key points from this story which will help me to draw out the lessons, which I will share in my next slides. First is, this story narrates a number of dreams, in fact, 3 dreams. Now, the Quran, Islam believes that dreams, sometimes there can be indications from God. Here's a hadith in few, which the Prophet ﷺ said that there are 3 types of dreams. One kind of dream is directly from Allah. Allah is giving you some kind of indication, some kind of guidance, and you are being sort of instructed to act upon that. Then there is a dream which causes you distress, nightmares, and frightening things, and that's usually from Satan. And then there's other kind of confusing dreams which muddle up many things and brings up characters, people we meet in our everyday life and events, but they are covered in all kinds of mysterious ways and so on. They're usually part of our information processing, which the brain is involved in, putting different pieces of information in different parts of the brain, and it gets muddled up during our sleep, and we do not remember much of them. So these are the three types of dreams. Now, in this surah, there are three dreams which are mentioned. First is the dream of Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam as the Prophet of God, indicated that there was going to be a problem and which was going to affect the whole societies. So he needed to act and do something, and he couldn't make sense of what that dream was. So this whole surah talks about the dreams which are from Allah. He communicated with the Prophet, with these two ordinary people, and what was in their dream, according to the interpreter, became true. And then the dream of the ruler also became true, and that realized over 14 years, 7 years of famine and 7 years of good. They put some false blood on it to go tell their father that some wolf or some bear or somebody has killed him. But when the father looked at Hazrat Yaqub al-Islam, he was not fully convinced of it. Yeah, he was still felt that Yusuf al-Islam was live and the truth. Yeah, so this is first time the shirt is mentioned. Second time is the incident in the house of Aziz. His shirt was ripped from the back. That played a role. And the third, he told them, go back and take my shirt to your father and put the shirt on his eyes, the word of the Quran, and he will begin to see. So maybe his eyes totally blind, but whatever, his eyesight was fully restored and he was able to see this. So again, the shirt is mentioned. So 3 times the shirt is mentioned and 3 dreams are mentioned. Now, here, some Muslims are taking this as a point that the Prophet of God, their hairs, their body parts, the sweat of the Prophet ﷺ was used by his wives as well. Prophet's clothes, they are some way, they are sacred and they should be respected in some way because they have a sort of a divine, because they are, the prophets are so close to Allah that Allah blesses everything they touch. So, we should not undermine those people or make fun of people who are trying to protect the hairs of the Prophet. I was in Pakistan and there was a large group. We were in this Badshah Masjid. We went to visit it. And suddenly a large crowd was there. They all gathered around this shelf and wanted to see what it was. And they said it was one of the hair of the Prophet. No, I didn't take much notice of that. But when I read this, that there is some kind of reason why people do all kinds of visits, away places to see anything which the Prophet has left behind. So there is some blessing in this. So, and the other key point, not the lessons, but the key points from the story is that throughout the story, we see the power of Allah. Allah is playing a role in his dream, how he protected him from his brothers, how he had a plan for him to taking him to the Aziz's house, and how he had a plan for him in the prison, and how he lifted him up. Throughout his life, Allah was there. So people planned, they plotted, they tried to, cause him all kinds of problems. But Allah brought him out of the problem. So the power of Allah can be clearly seen in the whole of this story. So, for example, the brothers wanted to decrease his father's love, but it only increased his love for him. The brothers wanted to kill him, but Allah saves him. The brothers sold him, but Allah made him powerful. They tried to defame him, the women and others, but Allah then elevated him. So the power of Allah can be continuously seen. So Muslims, we as Muslims, we have to believe we face huge problems sometimes, personal level, collective level, in an organization. Maybe Allah wants to teach us, He wants to train us, He wants to purify us. So we should not lose hope. We should see these problems as opportunities and try to act on on the values and do not let go of them. The verse in Surah Mulk, allazina khalaq mauta wal hayata liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amala. He created death and life. Why? So that He may see who is the best in their moral conduct. So Allah will put people into richness, He may put people into poverty, He may give people diseases, He may make people healthy, He may make people rich or poor. In different situations we are faced, in each situation we have to act morally and keeping Allah's belief and trust. That is the whole meaning and purpose of life. Yeah, so we see that again in throughout the Quran, Allah's hand is behind history. Rise and fall of nations in His hands. So Muslims should put trust in Allah. Then let's come to the lessons. First thing, and I want to focus around this famine part. He had specialized knowledge in interpreting the dreams. So this specialized knowledge helped him, to come to power. So one thing which I sort of, there's a hint at this, that Muslims, whichever society we find ourselves in, we must try to gain specialized knowledge, because specialized knowledge is valued by society. No matter how much society may hate you, but if you've got specialized knowledge, then, and you are some benefit to your society, the society will bring you forward. And this is throughout, you will find this. Yeah, when you are not of any benefit but a parasite for society. Society will reject you and throw you in the specialized knowledge is so important. And I remember in my young days, the early days of young Muslim, we were taught by our teachers that you must not only have a general knowledge of Islam, you must also have a specialization with your knowledge of Islam. Either within Islam, you specialize in some kind of fiqh area or Sharia area, or history or philosophy or theology or whatever. You must specialize in something. Or outside the knowledge of Islam, you must become a doctor or dentist or engineer or something through which you can be of benefit to society. So this specialized knowledge is so important, particularly living in a non-Muslim society. Yeah, so we need to be of some benefit. That's the first lesson which I learned from this. So Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam, his specialized knowledge brought him to the attention of the powerful person of his time, the most powerful. In fact, Egypt was a great civilization at that time. So his specialized knowledge, the ruler, saw that, and he brought him forward. So this is something so important. As long as we are beneficial, useful, society, and even our families, if we are not, we become a burden on our family will not want to know us. So that's what. Second thing is, Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam did not only had the specialized knowledge of interpreting dreams, he was able to see problems and develop effective solutions very quickly. Now, when you read the Quranic verses, when this person said to Pharaoh, let me go, there is a man in prison who can interpret the dreams, let me go and ask him the interpretation of this dream. What did Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam do? He did not only interpret the dream for him, but he presented a solution as part of his interpretation. So the solution was that he must do this within 7 years, and then this, and this within the next 7 years, which I will talk about in a minute. Yeah. So he was simply asked to interpret the dream, but Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam gave him more and gave them presented a convincing solution. So he had the ability to quickly develop a very pragmatic plan to deal with the crisis that convinced the people in power and the policymakers. They became convinced that this man knows the solution and how this solution should be implemented. Because having a solution is one thing, how to implement the solution is something else. Now I reflected over this and say, how did Yusuf, yes, in dreams may be a special skill from Allah, but how did he manage the skills of where did he learn his management skills? Did not go on any MBA courses and so on. What I have a feeling that when he was managing the place of the Aziz, who was his master, slowly he took on more and more responsibility. He was able to develop a project management skills and all kinds of management skills, but also political skills, because the Aziz was a close man to the Pharaoh, and he used to come and present all kinds of issues and problems of society there. And Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam was listening, participating, engaging in these, and that is a very, a powerful way to develop people. Just yesterday, I sent a video to my family because I'm in Markfield, they're in Wolverhampton. I sent them this video. It's a 2-minute video, and there the person is saying that when they were young, they used to have a weekly family democracy meeting, where the elders and the children used to meet once a week, and they used to discuss all kinds of family issues and make plans for the next week. Who's in problem, who's not doing their work, what to cook, what to buy, what to do, everything. It was a family democracy weekly meeting. She said, we had this meeting for years, and that was my school of learning politics and learning how to make decisions and how to agree on differing opinions and how to give and take and so on. So he learned a lot of these things while he was doing his work. So we all have a lot of responsibilities, and we're engaged in a lot of projects. The best people who learn is those who reflect over their work, constantly take criticisms and try to improve for future. They develop these skills. So this is another thing which he was able to formulate solutions through the skills which he developed over time. Now, if you look at the verse in the Quran, which highlights the story. And this is the verse from the Quran. And the king said, indeed, I have seen in a dream 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 lean cows, and 7 green spikes of grain, and others that were dry. O eminent ones, explain to me my vision, if you can interpret this vision. So this is the dream. So Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam, when he interpreted, he could see that the 7 lean, the thinner cows would eventually eat the 7 fat cows. So the lean cows he interpreted as the 7 years of famine would eat the 7 fat cows, the 7 years of growth. So the 7 years of growth will come first, and then the 7 years of famine will take away that growth very quickly. Yeah. So so his strategy was that in the 7 years of growth, we don't eat all the grain, but we only eat what is necessary, and the people should sell their extra grain to the government, which they will store in warehouses, and then use them for the 7 years of the famine. And then the people can buy back that growth. So the finances of the state will also be even in those 14 years. So this was the dream, and this was his interpretation of the dream. Sorry, it's not moving for, yeah. Okay, so I will carry on with the lessons. So it's two lessons we've learned so far. The third lesson, which is also so important, and this affects us directly here in the UK. I see people capturing power so quickly, that they are so greedy for positions and power and fame, that they do not think about their dignity in the process. When this man came from the Pharaoh to ask Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam to interpret the dream, Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam interpreted the dream for him, and and Pharaoh said, "Free him." He said to him, "No, I do not want to leave the prison until my name is cleared." Now look at the psychology here. Many of us would have jumped. Oh, becoming a minister. What's happened is happened. It doesn't matter. No. Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam said he did not rush or beg for power, but he ensured that the power understood and established his innocence first. So he said, "Go back to the king and say, why was I put into prison? And about the women who you need to ask them about, was I really guilty or not?" The king went and did his investigation, and then from the investigation established that Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam was totally innocent. And then he was freed, and he went and he became the food minister. So the king recognized his dignity and his innocence, and he's also recognized his ability to manage the crisis. So he proved himself, and only then he took power. Had he not done this, people would have still gossiped about him. So, and that would have impacted him in the long term. Great wisdom Allah is giving in the Quranic verses. I see people really running, becoming. That dignity comes before accepting power. If you are going to get, then it is not worth it whatsoever. Yeah. The other lesson which we learn is that he put service to the people before converting the people. He did not wait and say, "This is a kufr government. They are evil people. They mistreated me. They put me into prison. They tortured me all these years. I am not going to help them. And I have to convert them first, even if it takes decades, until they don't become Muslims. They don't deserve." No. He did not wait for people to renounce shirk and to become Muslims before coming forward and saying, "No, it's a time of crisis. Everybody's going to suffer. So I need to come forward, whether they're kafirs or mushriks, it doesn't matter. I need to come forward and serve my society." So here again is a very important lesson for us, that we must serve society, well, no matter how evil that society is, because we want to show it's a part of our Iman to help human beings if they are suffering from anything. This is a very important lesson which we learn. And the other important lesson which we learn is that Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam did dawah in every situation he found himself in. In the Aziz house, you will see he's doing dawah. The lot of Quranic verses point to indicate to this. In prison, he's doing dawah to the inmates. And also when he becomes a powerful leader, he's also doing dawah. So whatever situation, there's no excuse for a Muslim. "Oh, I'm a prisoner, I can't do dawah. I'm a slave, I can't do dawah." No, you can do dawah in every situation you find. Even in a lockdown period, we can continue to do dawah to our children, and through the electronic media, there's ample opportunities for us to continue this. Again, a very powerful lesson which we learn from the story of Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam. Now here I want to pause for a while, and some people have raised, and I have been involved in these debates for last 30 years. The first time I came across this opinion was about 30 years ago. I was in Young Muslims. I was approached by an organization called Hizb Tahrir, and they believe that we must do bayat to one Khalifa, and they had nominated that person. And when every Muslim gives bayah, then we will be able to bring about Islamic law. So they were going according to their understanding of the Prophet's methodology, that the Prophet normally went to tribal leaders, and if they converted, the whole tribe converted. So they used to go to the leaders of the Muslim community and try to convert them. So because I was president of Young Muslims, they approached me, and I went to one of their circle, and I got engaged in a discussion with them. And there they said, oh, this is a kufr country, we cannot take part in democracy, we must not help these people. And there I brought this point, that Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam, became a food minister, looking after this crisis in a kufr government, in the king's government. And then they said, no, 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 Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam took over the whole society and so on. So then I researched more about this. And there's a whole book, I don't know if you can see my screen. It's called Power Sharing in Islam. It's edited by one of our elder, Dr. Azam Tamim. And so the book answers this question: can we participate in or help a government based on kufr? So this is where, the question which we are dealing with here. Did Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam participate in a kufr government? Was he allowed by God to do this? So here that the Prophet Yusuf al-Islam did participate, he did help out, and he did become a minister in that government. Now here some Muslim scholars saying, oh, he did it because the king eventually became Muslim, and slowly the society became a Muslim society and they established Sharia. However, later in the same surah, we see Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam's brothers, they're coming, meeting him, and they're bowing down to him. Yeah, this was the custom of that time. So again, was Sharia, at that time, was it implemented or not? So some other scholars, the king became Muslim. Took that. There's a people of opinion. However, there are indications also, although he became a Muslim, he did not establish the Islamic system of government. And scholars write the reason was very clear. The majority of his society was not ready for Islam. So they will learn, in the first case, learn that Yusuf al-Islam took power to help society in a small way. Negus was gave the power Masar, became, he did not the Muslim Sharia. The reason is his people were not ready, because had he imposed turning to him for guidance. Yeah, so again, this comes out very strongly. And I will finish here. Look at his very powerful dua, and this comes towards the end of the surah. He said, my Lord. See, again, this stresses these points, Allah's blessings and turning to him. He said, my Lord, you have given me something of power when he was the minister, and you have taught me the interpretation of dreams. This was a specialist knowledge which Allah only gives to a few people. You are the creator of the heavens and the earth. You are my protector in this world and the hereafter. Cause me to die a Muslim and join me with the righteous. A prayer of humbleness, acknowledging Allah's blessings and turning to him and saying he alone can keep him guided. So up to his death, he is asking Allah to keep him a Muslim and his sincere servant. So these are some of the things in light of our work and our situation today. So we are in this pandemic, and alhamdulillah, I can see many of our doctors came forward to help out. Many of our taxi drivers, they gave free, rides or journeys to people who were disabled or the elderly. They took them from place to place. Many of our people who helped their neighbors, they did shopping for the elderly. So at an individual level, I know many mosques we played a role which society, inshallah, will begin to recognize. But had we played a role at a government level, then the impact would have been different. Yeah. So we need to also see how in future we can slowly make our way forward to influence the opinion makers in this society, so that through that people they can appreciate the blessings and the true guidance of Islam. Yeah. So in this pandemic, this is our society. We have to become of service to people in whatever ways you can. You, according to your specialist knowledge, you should not say these are kafirs, these are non-Muslim, but come forward and help people, remain humble, and inshallah Allah will help us to open doors for success, just like he did for Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. Aqulu qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum. Sisters, are there any questions?
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Zaid Pervez. That was a fantastic reminder and fantastic lesson learned. I mean, there were things there that, we've countlessly, even during Ramadan, we've listened to Surah Yusuf, gone over the lessons, but you've really put a fantastic sort of element to it, which we didn't even think about, or I personally didn't think about. Jazakallah khair for sharing your insights. There is a question here on the questions pane, and this is referring to the book Power Sharing in Islam, and she's asking, is it by Dr. Azam Tamimi?
Yeah, it is by Azam Tamimi, and there is a chapter there by Rashid Ghanouchi. Yeah, so there's different chapters by two people. Azam Tamimi has edited this book, and if the camera is there, I can show you. Okay, it's a Power Sharing Islam, edited by Azam Tamimi. And the chapter which is really powerful by Rashid Ghanouchi. He is one of the Islamic movement leader in Tunisia now. He was in UK, and I'm really fortunate, I'm not arrogant, but very fortunate to say, he also played a role in our development. So we had many sessions with him in Young Muslims and ISB. Yeah, so I'm very fortunate, very big people have played a role in shaping my thinking and developed insights into the Quran and Islamic studies.
Jazakallah khair. I hope that answers the question, sister. Are there any other questions, inshallah? You can either type them in the question pane or you can put your hand up, however you like. I think there's scope to really ask. All right, Sister Shabana, I'm going to unmute you. Assalamu alaikum. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm new to this group today. Today I just attend this course. So how can I join other courses like this that you people are doing really good work? So it's my first time I have.
Jazakallah khair. We'll take a note of your email address. I'll take a note of your email address, and then we can pass on the messages. It's usually a WhatsApp group, so we can just pass the message on. I'll take a note of your email address because I can see it, and inshallah
because I'm so much interested in courses like this, because I have an elder daughter. She's 14 years old, so I want her to join these kind of groups and online all these Islamic educations. Jazakallah.
Sure, inshallah. I'll email you the details, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for your interest.
Inshallah. Jazakallah. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Sister Sadia, I'm going to unmute you, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. You have to unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum. Samar, can you hear me?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair, Brother Zahid. That was an excellent dimension to the Surah Yusuf, as Sister Summer also mentioned. We usually take the tafsir, and this is the power of Quran, that how it can be related, every story in it can be related to the most recent and novice type of scenario man can come into contact with. So I just wanted to kind of comment that you have very rightly said that the leadership perspective and the far-sightedness should be shared in decision making. But when we look around us, it's just not about this our country we are living here, but rather in Muslim societies also, this kind of proactive leadership or the decision making, even it is, we see that there is a lack of it generally. What do you say about it?
Yeah, sister, this is one of the sort of problems the Ummah is facing all over the world. There is a serious leadership crisis we have. We have many active people. People are doing a lot of good work, but how to achieve real social, political, economic objectives, we really lack leadership. Now, I feel leaders will emerge. They are emerging, but whoever good leader then emerges, then our own people pull them back as well. So we need to learn to become mature. We need to learn to follow and as well as lead. It's not just leading, but we need to follow, respect each other. But we need to also spend more time in specialized knowledge and in developing skills of society, people, management. And these are some of the things which are lacking. For example, I just ask, we hold mosque open days all over the country. Are they becoming rituals or are they leading us to a particular social objective? We are doing so many conference. We used to do annual conference each day for, I don't know, 40 years, 40, almost 50 years. Same people used to come year after year. We used to feel good, so many people have come. But what social objectives we are actually achieving, these things were not reflected. So one way for leadership to emerge, leaders take people towards a certain direction to achieve certain objectives. Leaders don't take people towards a direction which is taking them nowhere. So always leaders have clear social objectives or political objectives. Like Nelson Mandela wanted to free his people and take control of his country and ensure they are not slaved. A clear objective. Quaid-e-Azam had a clear objective, wanted to create a land for the Muslim community. If you look at throughout, every leader has a clear objective, even at a micro level. See, there was a philosopher called Dewey. He was not happy with the education system. Nobody would listen to his ideas. So he went and established 2 or 3 schools where he applied his methods of teaching. Slowly, that had an impact on the whole education system. People began to accept his ideas. Yeah. So leaders keep on working towards an objective. Yeah. So what is our objective until we are not clear in this country? Is it to have a large gathering? Is it to give good annual reports? Is it to, or is it to say we want to make this country Islam friendly? Whatever it takes, the media has to be changed, political leaders has to change, but governance and policy makers at every level, school governors, hospital governors, they need to become Islam friendly. If you look at the Black Lives Matter movement, very clear objective. And if you look at them over the last 50 years, they've gone from strength to strength to strength, taking on different labels, different approaches. And they have been able, when we were in the 1960s, in the primary school when I was there, we read books where it had gollywogs in it. And the Black community rose in such a powerful way that all the education, National Education Department was forced to change the textbooks for schools, and they removed these words of gollywogs and things like that. And then what's his name, National Front rose again, the black community came forward. So now we see the black, now they want to change literature, they want to change every industry. They have a clear objective. If you look at the gay movement, they had a clear objective that the gay community must be accepted by law in this country, and they did all kinds of things in order to get 10-15 years. Some of them struggled, some of them were tortured in different ways, but they had, whether it's right or not, I'm not talking about that, but a leader has an objective. Unfortunately, this is where we are lacking. There's no clear social, political, economic, or global objectives. Now I'm beginning to see, this is emerging with Turkey's leadership, Malaysia's leadership, and even a vision was given in Pakistan, a corrupt-free society. Yeah, it's when these visions become clear and a way to mobilize people, that's when change starts happening. But when it's ad hoc activities, directionless work, then obviously it's the blind leading the blind. So we do lack leaders, and that is because the clear objectives are not being formulated, and those objectives will take time. Exactly what is our role in this country in the next 10 years, we as a community, what impact do we really want to have? So once serious questions like this start to be asked by people, leadership will emerge. There is leaders there. They just need direction themselves, initial, and inshallah, they will be able to lead us effectively.
Jazakallah khair. I hope that answered the question, inshallah. There's another question here. Can you please shed a bit more light on how Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam established Islam in Egypt then afterwards?
Yeah, see, this is where the difference of opinion is. Some scholars saying that he did not establish Islam because how would a king let go of his power? Others say no, that the king became Muslim. So Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam became the ultimate ruler of that. Now, historians say that Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam could have never become the leader, because only a few hundred years after the other pharaoh emerged, where the Bani Israel was slaved, and a very deep-rooted shirki system was there. So how could it have changed within a few hundred years only? Because if Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam had become a prophet after a prophet came after him, they would have maintained that system, and it would not have been us and them, Bani Israel and the pharaohs and the Egyptians. The whole society would have merged into one if it was an Islamic society, just like what the Prophet ﷺ did. He merged the tribes, and they became like one body. But it didn't happen. So some scholars, they're arguing that he did not establish even the Sharia of that time, but just did his responsibility. Yeah. But others say, no, the king became Muslim. Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam preached to him, he became Muslim, and Hazrat Yusuf al-Islam became, and he established. How long, if he did establish Sharia, how long it lasted, we have no idea. History is silent on that period of history.
Jazakallah khair. And we'll take one final question that is on the questions pane. Forgiving family is such a difficult thing. Really need to work on that. Any suggestions from where to start and how?
Forgiving family?
Yes, I think that's what it says. Forgiving family is such a difficult thing. Really need to work on that. Any suggestions from where to start and how?
Sister, this is a very difficult, we all face this every day. We all have family problems, issues. Some family members do really wrong to us. And sometimes I know brothers don't talk to each other. In cases I've seen where a brother or a sister wants to murder each one, and they've actually murdered each one. So it can become very serious, or it can be just not talking to each other for years. Yeah, or some other kind of grudges are there, jealousies, hatreds, where they undermine each other, spread gossip about each other. All these things are there. The only solution is, as long as we all commit ourselves to holding on to the Islamic values, inshallah, that is the only way forward. Slowly you will see, even if you hold on to your values, those who hold grudges, they will begin to become your friends. Repel evil with what good. And that is the principle we use at the family level. We don't start doing jihad with them, start killing them, but we try to sort of react in positive ways, and that will have an impact. No matter how much we dislike to do that, but that's the only way. Forgiveness, overlooking, and trying to join in family functions, join and support where family members need help. The relatives, Prophet ﷺ said, I think he mentioned 9 things in a hadith. One of them things he's mentioned, to those who cut from me, I want to join with them. And he also mentioned family ties. So with ordinary people, and especially with family members, if the families are strong, you will see the community is strong. Mosques will be vibrant. When the families weaken, the children suffer. Nobody to guide them, and then crime and all kinds of things start. So I know it's very difficult. I see all kinds of gossiping going on, and backbiting and jealousies, and everybody's undermining. This happens in every single family. Wherever there are 2 human beings, there will be different opinion, there will be some kind of tensions. The best human beings are those who rise above these things and keep the life objectives in mind. This life is short. We're going to leave everything here. We are going to die, and we will be answered before our Creator. He knows the secrets of our hearts, and he knows the secrets in what we do in our private quarters. So once these objectives, it will help us to really rise above these things. So Quranic Islamic tarbiyah is the only way forward, and acting on that tarbiyah, inshallah, family situations begin to improve.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Zaid Pervez. That will be the last question. It is 6 o'clock exactly. So alhamdulillah, our time management has been quite good. I just want to say on behalf of UKIM sisters and on behalf of all the attendees, Jazakallah khair, Dr. Zaid, for sharing such fantastic insight with us. What you've spoken about today was very much needed in our society, and of course, given our current situation as well. And we pray that Allah continues to keep us under his protection and mercy. Jazakallah khair to all the attendees who have listened in and tuned in today as well. The live recording of this is on YouTube, and as is all the others as well that we have done in the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks now. Inshallah, we look forward to having you join us again next week for our last and final session in this 6-week series, where we talk about Salah and have we lost its, has our Salah lost its effect after Ramadan. So inshallah, we look forward to seeing you then. Jazakallah khair for attending today, and we hope to see you very, very soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.